before the episode actually gets started, because I'm about to put this on the table, I did want to see what Dad's reaction to it would be. So,
okay,
which is about as much as I thought it would be. So, I have to angle this so specifically so it doesn't get too much reflection on it. There. Last night, I was thinking, what can I put on the table? Because normally when we do Doctor Who, there's like 50 different things on the table, you know? And there's probably going to be a new one soon, because they just released the 14th Doctor's sonic screwdriver, so I'm probably going to have to get that one too. But anyway, I figured, well, we could have the book. Book's a little taller than I realized, but I guess you can still see. And I thought, well, what else am I going to put on the table? So I came up with this. I can be your angel or your devil. And I thought that would work perfectly. That is an old meme from, I don't know when it was from, but it was basically, the original version of it was someone who, he was like standing next to like his like figure collection, and he had on like a hat and a vest, and he was like standing there and he was all happy. And the second picture was the same guy like on the streets of his neighborhood, like wielding two katanas from the back and like dressed in all black. So that was the joke, is I can be your angel or your devil. Anywho, hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Good Omens. Last time around, we had the very last day of the rest of their lives. I think that's what it was called. It was a long title. Yes. It was a long time ago. Now, the big question is, did either of us rewatch anything since Good Omens Season 1? No, we have not.
I did read the book.
You did read the book, and I remember more of Good Omens than I do of Doctor Who in general, so I think we'll be okay going into this. But where we last left off at the end of Season 1, it was Armageddon until it wasn't.
Yes.
Basically.
They prevented the end of the world, the apocalypse. The young boy, who was supposedly the Antichrist, decided he didn't want to destroy the world. He liked things the way they were. And although Aziraphale and Crowley were to be punished, they switched places, and therefore their punishments didn't affect them.
Yeah, because the angels were going to burn Aziraphale in Hellfire, but because it was Crowley in disguise, it didn't affect him. And then the demons were going to basically wash Crowley in holy water, but because it was Aziraphale in disguise, it didn't affect him at all. So they got away with it. And yeah, there was Adam, I think was the name of the Antichrist, and he just decided, nope, he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to see... I think we had a cameo by Satan, and it was Benedict Cumberbatch. Well, it was the voice of him anyway. I feel like nowadays, I mean, that was 2019, so I guess it would have made sense back then. I feel like nowadays they would have had Benedict Cumberbatch in human form, because he's just so charming, and you kind of want that kind of actor. Yeah. I feel like doing that at the end of Season 1, where he's the voice of the CG devil, I think that was more on him being Smaug or Smaug in the Hobbit trilogy. They were kind of writing that. So
yeah. I think we even commented that it would have been better if they had just had Benedict Cumberbatch.
We might have said that. So I don't know. That was 4 years ago, almost exactly. So yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
So
and this is something that has always surprised me. We've been doing reactions together a little over 4 years now, and these 6 episodes are literally the highest watched episodes that the two of us have ever done together. If you put all 6 episodes together, the watch count is over 100,000.
Yeah, so we really appreciate that. No pressure, folks. But no pressure, but we would like to replicate that again.
That would be nice.
It would be nice, honestly. So, and in terms of like when these episodes are going to go up, we are recording this on Saturday the 29th, and so it's only been 2 days since season 2 dropped on Amazon. So what I'm going to do is the next day after this recording, I'm going to edit it, and hopefully that should mean I can get it up by Wednesday. So we're not going to have the early access or anything on Patreon. There is still the full length for this episode if you want to go check that out, though. Well, there's full length for every episode, honestly, but yeah. So I'll try to have it, within like pretty much every week on Wednesday. So hopefully that's when this is going up, copyright permitting. So yeah. The only other thing I was going to mention was I remembered that at the end of season 1, Adam sort of gets rid of his father, Satan, and that at that moment, that's when his human dad shows up. And I think I've actually seen that actor since Good Omens, and ironically, he was playing a demon in that show. So yeah. So just an interesting little note that I thought I'd point out before someone points it out for me, but they'll point it out anyway, and that's fine. So yeah, we are on to season 2, which we weren't even sure if we were going to get a season 2. So yeah, I'm excited to see what we're going to get with this one. I guess that's it. You got anything else?
I got nothing.
Then why don't we just go ahead and jump right into Season 2, Episode 1 of Good Omens. A reminder that because it's the first episode of the season, you can go watch the full-length reaction for free down in the link in the description. So, let's get moving.
There you go, lovely. Thank you, you can put it down there.
Is that it?
Oh no, I just finding the engine. This is the fun bit. I've been waiting for this since, well, almost.
Hello.
I love the idea that even back when he was an angel, he still had his red hair.
Yeah.
Something meant to happen.
All right, sorry, yes. I knew I missed one. Let there be light.
Oh, good lord.
Look at you, you're gorgeous.
The universe, not you.
Made it all yourself?
Well, I mean, more or less. I wasn't the original concept designer, but I worked very closely with upstairs.
Well, it's very pretty.
You follow the instructions.
So what's it for?
How do we?
Well, what exactly does it all do?
Nobody knows.
What doesn't this beauty do?
You know, the current word from upstairs is that we'll be shutting this all down again in about 6,000 years.
There's nothing.
We're going to start out with a breeding pair, and then pretty soon there'll be oodles of them. They'll breed like, they'll breed like people. The impression
They haven't invented rabbits yet.
Is that the stars and your, called a nebula, right? Well, they exist just so that the people can look up into the night sky and marvel at the illimitable vastness of the Almighty's creation.
Maybe you can't do anything.
That's idiocy! Most of it won't even be visible from Earth. Why don't you put Earth in the middle of the universe so the view's better?
It's not our job to advise the Almighty on the details of creation.
Well, whose job is it? I mean, someone has to say, look, boss, this is a really terrible idea.
Well, I suspect that would be considered inappropriate. I like the pinky blue bit in the corner of the nebula. Yes, it's very, look, word to the wise. I'd hate to see you getting into any trouble.
Thanks for your help. And thanks for your advice. I wouldn't worry, though. How much trouble can I get into just for asking a few questions?
What if I were to just take these Shostakovich records without paying for them, and we'll call it even.
I owe you thousands of pounds in rent. Those records would cost you £8.
£8.75.
Well, you can't just forgive me 8 months' rent.
Oh, I can. I'm very good at forgiveness. It's one of my favourite things. Now, you have paid your rent, I have my music, and I know exactly what I'll be doing for the next 21 minutes.
Don't give them bread, you idiot! Ducks shouldn't eat bread.
What are you meant to give them then?
Do they know?
The ducks?
Downstairs. Do they know you're checking in?
Crowley. I am now Hell's representative in London. And Hell doesn't care how jobs get done.
Yeah, I remember. Doesn't care that somebody does them.
Was it always this easy?
Easy.
I keep planning complicated strategic strikes to spread misery and panic among the humans. And just as I'm about to put one into motion, they come up with something themselves which is so much worse than anything I could have thought was.
Yeah, always this easy. Frozen peas.
What?
That's what you feed ducks. Frozen peas. They love them. And it's good for them too.
Good to know.
You work in the record shop, don't you? Don't know who buys records in this day and age.
Hipsters.
Holy shit! What? Look.
Yeah, there's just a guess, but I think he forgot something.
Ironic.
Why did you come to my shop?
I don't know. I just thought I should. You know what it's like when you don't know anything at all, and yet you're totally certain that everything would be better if you were just near one particular person.
No, well, certainly not. I have no idea what that feels like. What makes you say that?
Oh, and this other time, my arms were aching because I had to carry that box for so long. Now, they're fine.
The box.
Oh, good. People of London didn't try to take it.
Yeah.
Something else I thought you should know.
Okay, basic demon on earth stuff. Either call on the phone and talk, or appear mysteriously. Don't do both.
Why not?
Trust me.
Gabriel, please, try to pay attention. Why did you bring the box here?
What's Gabriel?
You are, at least I think you are,
Gabriel. Cool. I love it. Gabriel.
although, actually, no. If anyone asks, you're not Gabriel.
Oh, okay. Then what am I?
Well, you're, Jim.
Jim.
I was literally about to say Jim as a joke.
James. Long for Jim, short for Gabriel.
No, just forget about Gabriel.
I'll try, but I find it kind of hard to forget things.
Well then, please, tell me, what was in the box?
What box?
I know this child.
Hello, can I get you anything?
Take a big cup, put 6 shots of espresso into it, nothing else.
That sounds fun. Does it calm you down?
Not really.
Here you go. What do you sell that calms people down?
Eccles cakes?
Some Eccles cakes, please.
How's your naked man friend?
He's not. He's not.
You know, the guess who Shax was asking me about.
Yes, I think perhaps I will.
Oh, go on then, yes.
Jim? Jim? We know Jim?
Hi there.
Gabriel!
See, I told you I looked like a Gabriel.
This'll be okay. We can just take him somewhere and leave him there.
Take him where?
Anywhere. The crucial part of the plan isn't the taking him somewhere. It's the not bringing him back again.
You're at liberty to go.
To go. Oh, really? This is how I want to do it.
No, I would love you to help me. I am asking you to help me take care of him. But if you won't, you won't.
I won't.
How do you guilt a
You're
demon?
with this one.
That's weird. See that bloke? 6 shots of espresso. He's smoking.
There's no law against it. You can smoke in the street.
I mean, look at him. He's smoking.
Oh, I can't do this. I'm just so angry!
A material object. In heaven. That's impossible.
Yes, I know.
Did we mention the last time around that matches used to be called Lucifers?
Oh, really? Come on! My car, really?
Hello, traitor.
Oh, Lord Beelzebub!
Suppose you're wondering why I called you here.
You came to me!
Yes.
I thought we had a... Turn your face.
Well, this old thing. I've had it for ages.
Such a pity that hell never really appreciated your talents, Crowley.
It is, yeah.
What if I said hell was willing to forget everything you did? Upstairs is seriously troubled about Gabriel's disappearance. I'm hearing that anybody they find involved in this affair will be dealt with.
How?
Extreme sanctions.
That isn't actually a thing. That's just something you used to joke about to frighten the cherubs.
No, it exists. Extreme sanctions. Anyone found involved in Gabriel's disappearance will be erased from the Book of Life. They won't just be gone. They will never have existed.
Oh, someone's coming this way. Signs. It's him. The one who was struck by lightning. The 6 shots of espresso.
Oh, really? My bad.
That's a coincidence. It went out and he went that way. And
That's Lindsay.
Well, that was nice of him.
I want a proper apology.
No,
With the little dance.
I don't do that.
I did the I was wrong dance in 1650, in 1793, 1941.
Fine. You were right. You were right. I was wrong. You were right.
Okay?
So nobody can spot him, even if they're looking for him. No, I mean, especially if they're looking for him.
I think heaven would notice if I was to perform even a very minor miracle.
I don't want hell taking an interest either.
Hello. Where did you come back from?
Outside.
Outside.
Does Aziraphale not have any spare clothes?
Not that would fit John Hamm.
Oh, I guess that's true.
No. Insubstantial. Fractional half a miracle we have ever performed. No traces of anything miraculous left behind. No alarm bells ringing in heaven.
Right. Count to 3.
1, 2, 3, now.
Do you think it worked?
I don't know. Probably. No one will have noticed a thing.
That's such a long walk.
Excuse me. You better come over here.
You spotted
Is that the same actress as Shax?
I see. We may not know where Gabriel is, but I'll tell you what we do know. There's a former angel in this up to his bookshop-owning neck.
Well, that didn't work.
Can you back that up just for a second?
Yeah, let me see here.
Shax is Miranda Richardson.
I think it's someone else.
They look very similar.
Yeah. Alrighty. Season 2, Episode 1. Well, they're still in top form.
Yes.
And you know, I mean, aside from the obvious returning characters, Gabriel, the people in heaven, the people in hell, like, pretty much no humans returned from last season.
No.
Like, we didn't have,
Pulsifer.
Yeah, Agnes, or no, not Agnes. That's the older one. We had Pulsifer, Anathema. That's it. All right. Or I don't remember his character name, but Michael McKean.
Yeah.
So like none of them from last season, but that's probably okay, honestly. So, I am kind of fine with that because I feel like there are some shows where, like, you know, a character's story will finish, but then they just keep coming back, and it's like, well, you don't need to keep bringing them back, so it kind of works here. Whereas this, obviously, yes, we still need hell, heaven, Gabriel, all that stuff. So it took me a while to remember that his name was Gabriel as well. I was like, I think it's Michael. It's like, no, wait, he's not Michael. She's Michael. Wait a minute. All right.
And there's no narration from God.
That's true. Like, the formatting of the season feels different than last season.
How long was that? It didn't seem very long.
43 minutes. I noticed on Amazon, because they went ahead and dropped the whole season at once. And I see there is some difference between the episode lengths, but there's not too much. It should be between 45 and 50 minutes on each episode. So yeah. And I guess, because you're right, there's no narration by God, and there's no, I guess, sort of flashbacks to Aziraphale and Crowley's lives before the events of the show.
Other than Crowley literally created the universe based on... Crowley created it.
Yeah.
And when Aziraphale said, well, it's only going to last 6,000 years, which, of course, is the interpretation that the universe started 4,000, whatever it was, BC at 9 o'clock in the morning, up to the present day time. So I'm assuming that somewhere in there, I mean, that was the reference to, well, we stopped the apocalypse. We stopped all the things at in the book of Revelation.
Yeah.
But yeah, now we're on a completely different track. Gabriel is missing, doesn't know why he's missing, doesn't know who he is, doesn't know what's going on, delivered an empty box. So, I mean, there's all of this setup, and we're all just sitting here going, what's going on? And
yeah.
Gabriel left a matchbook, a physical object in heaven, which shouldn't have been possible, that was inscribed with a verse from the book of Job about catching fire or doing something like that.
Yeah.
So, again, I seriously have no idea where this is going.
Yeah, the only similarities I see to the first season is sort of where the first season was about, Aziraphale and Crowley dealing with the Antichrist, Adam, and, throughout the first episode, they think they're raising him, but then they realize, oh wait, we got the wrong kid, because there was the whole switch up in the first episode.
We've lost the Antichrist.
Yeah. So, and then the rest of the season is basically them trying to find him. Whereas this one, it's the two of them, but now they're just focused on Gabriel because he's lost his memory for some reason. So, it is a good thing you pointed out that, there's no sort of wardrobe that Aziraphale could have that would fit John Hamm, because I thought about that and I was like, well, maybe he just doesn't have other outfits because he's an angel. Maybe he can just, snap his fingers and, all of this stuff is clean, or it's forever clean because he's an angel or something. But yeah, and there's definitely, I mean, Crowley's clothes would be worse because David Tennant is just way too skinny. So yeah.
Now, there was a literally like 1 or 2 second shot of the license plate on Crowley's car. And I remember somebody pointed out that in the original, his license plate spelled out SIDRAT, which is TARDIS backwards. But I didn't see that. It looked like there was something new on it, but I couldn't tell for sure.
Yeah. I will say at the beginning with the Star Factory, as he put it, when he's talking about like, you know, the wonders and the marvels of the universe, I just kind of thought, yeah, I can tell which one of these has played the Doctor and which one hasn't. They've both been on Doctor Who, as we've seen. We've both watched that episode because he played House in that one 11th Doctor episode.
No.
Michael Sheen did, so technically he was on there. But if they ever need another Doctor, I mean, I know. Coming up, we've got Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor, but Michael Sheen would be an excellent choice for the Doctor.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but just even in that, you know, the whole thing of like, well, it'll all be gone in 6,000 years. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, so, you know, because they're going on that belief instead of the whole, well, there was the Big Bang, you know, 13 billion years ago or whatever and stuff. I want to believe that a way of making both of those stories work is the Bible runs on anime time. Because, and actually, because I was going to bring this up too with the Book of Life. I'm going to bring up Dragon Ball because I can. So in that, there's a famous thing in Dragon Ball Z where the villain, Frieza, says, this planet is going to explode in 5 minutes. And after he says that, it's about 10 episodes before the planet actually explodes. And there have actually been people who have taken all of those episodes and sped them up to exactly be 5 minutes. So it's one of those things like, well, you can say the characters, they're so powerful and they're moving so fast. So I want to believe that 6,000 years for angels, for heaven, is actually like 13 billion years for the rest of the universe, or for, you know, humanity or something. So the other part I was going to bring up Dragon Ball about is when they mention the extreme sanctions, which is being erased from the Book of Life specifically. And that is also it just reminds me, because I'm a weeb who watches too much anime, of in Dragon Ball Super, they introduce these sort of gods of destruction who... Because there's a whole thing where there is sort of an afterlife in Dragon Ball, but you can kind of just go there and, like, you sort of continue your life there, but they have a god of destruction who has an ability to just completely erase something. So they don't go to the afterlife, they don't do anything like that, and so that's just what popped into my head when I heard extreme sanctions.
Well, now, again, having been raised as a Catholic, 2 things popped up for me. There is a sacrament called extreme unction, which is a priest is called to give the last rites. You know, if you're dying and you want to be sure that your soul goes to heaven, etc., they come in, they ask you if you are repentant of your sins, etc., and then they bless you with the holy oil. That's what the unction is, but at the extreme end of your life. So that's what, and I'm not sure how that fits in here, if it does at all. But then there's something else, the Book of Life that you were talking about. Many, many years ago, I read a book about the life of Clarence Darrow, one of the first really kind of ACLU-type lawyers in the United States. And then got a chance to play him on stage. Not just the Henry Drummond character in Inherit the Wind, but I actually got to do the one-man show of Clarence Darrow's life. And the very last thing in it is the quote that he wanted, either at his funeral or as his epitaph. He basically said, "So I be written in the book of love, I do not care about that book above," which is the Book of Life. "Erase my name or write it as you will, so I be written in the book of love." So, again, I think what's going on here is they're not so worried about whether or not they're going to be erased from existence so much as they're doing the right thing. You know, they need to help this fallen angel, because that's what at this point Gabriel is.
Yeah.
Because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. So, although for Crowley, it's less of he's doing it because it's the right thing to do, and more of it's because he's going to lose everything if he doesn't help.
Yeah.
Whereas Aziraphale, before any other consequences are told to him, he is willing to help Gabriel. So,
and also, I'm sure you probably noticed this, but literally, other than the two leads of Aziraphale and Crowley, all of the people in heaven and all the people in hell are all women. It's a complete matriarchy now.
Yeah, without the two of them and without Gabriel as well. So yeah, and that is the differing perspectives that we have. Is we have someone who was raised a Catholic and reads all these nice books and performs these plays, and you have a guy who just watches anime, and somehow we've made a conversation around this show. So,
alrighty.
So yeah. It is also interesting, just the whole thing with, I guess, with Shax, because I'm going through my notes now, that she's basically taken over Crowley's position of, what was it, ambassador to Earth or something like that. So, and I like how it also just points out how easy his job actually was, especially, because, I mean, I guess that does kind of make sense that, yes, there is sort of a hierarchy in hell, but they're largely, I guess, sort of incompetent, or just not maybe they're too pig-headed or something, because she says I come up with the worst possible plan I can think of to spread torment and misery, and then they just think of something worse, and then we just go with that, and Crowley's like, yep, it's been like that for 6,000 years.
By the way, I just thought of something. You mentioned Shax. That's Miranda Richardson, right?
Yes.
I think Miranda Richardson was in the original Good Omens, but playing a completely different character.
Could she have been playing Beelzebub? Because they had that line that Beelzebub had a new face. I can look that up.
Either that, or she was the old woman who was seducing Michael McKean.
Maybe.
We'll cut this part out.
Yeah. Let me see. Well, I must say, because I went to her Wikipedia page, and when you go to filmography, there's just an extra link to take you to a different page, because that's how large the filmography is. So
yeah, she's quite famous.
Well, yeah, Madame Tracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Okay, so
she is, but she's playing a completely different character.
Yeah, that would be like if there was another angel or someone and it was Michael McKean. So that'd be great. I'd love to see more of Michael McKean. He was great in Good Omens, and since then, I've watched him in Better Call Saul, and he was great there. Which, for context, if anyone is keeping up with every video that's been, or at least every video we've done on the channel, last year I forced you to watch Breaking Bad, and now I'm forcing him to watch Better Call Saul, and we're about 4 episodes into it. So,
and have you mentioned on any of your other shows that you've been reacting to? On our vacation, we stopped in Albuquerque because we wanted to see the statue of Walt and Jesse, but it was inside the convention center, and it was Saturday, and that was closed.
Yeah. So
we drove around to the backside of the convention center and actually saw the parking lot with the gate where what's his name?
Mike,
and then Jimmy, who later becomes Saul. Saul Goodman. I can't believe they did that.
Anyway, that part.
So I've got a picture of Alex standing there by the gate.
Yeah, so we just turned a corner. I was like, wait a minute, I think that's the courthouse where Jimmy works, and Mike is always talking about stickers. So anyway, yeah, there's just a fun little thing. But yeah, it would be great to have Michael McKean back as another character in this. So yeah, but it's just an interesting thing seeing, and I guess it sort of is like, because I don't want to say like there's a level of incompetence in hell, but I mean there kind of is at the same time, because it's the contrast between heaven, which is this completely, everything has 20 million rules. We have all of these, different roles that we have, and, people do their thing till the end of time, which should have happened by now, but it didn't. And then, like, it's all this sort of rigid regime in heaven. And in hell, they're just kind of a bunch of punks that are just kind of hanging around, Okay. These are the people that are literally going to go smoking behind a 7-Eleven, basically.
But that follows the original story of the fall of Lucifer and his followers, in that, and I can't remember, I think it's Paradise Lost, John Milton, where Lucifer basically says, I would rather reign in hell than serve in heaven. So all the people who followed him, who believed that theory, that it's better to reign somewhere in a lesser place than to serve in a better place, they're all going to be somewhat saying, yeah, why do they're more like guidelines. They're not really rules. They're more like guidelines.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense, that hell is very discombobulated and uncoordinated, and it's just funnier that way.
Yeah. And the only person who remotely does his job well was Crowley, probably just because he was away from the rest of them.
Yeah.
So, they'll come in with their suggestions every so often, but he'll just be like, okay, I'll just go do my thing and spread some misery and talk to my one angel friend. Which, I have to say, this episode, I feel like maybe even more than in season 1, they're definitely hinting at there is something between the two of them.
Yeah.
And I know that was a huge thing with season 1, or just the book in general. And I don't think we probably didn't talk about it that much in season 1, but you can definitely see that they're playing it up a little bit more with this season, at the very least with Aziraphale, than Crowley. So, I guess the only other thing that we haven't mentioned is Maggie, the record shop owner, and Nina, the coffee shop owner, which I feel like there will be more with them in later episodes, but at the same time, I'm not sure what that would be. So I'm almost like they could just be there in this like sort of side thing going on.
But don't know if you noticed this. I mean, it's not incredibly subtle, but the record shop owner is a mirror image of Aziraphale.
Yeah.
And the coffee shop owner is Crowley. So there's obviously some kind of subplot here, but where it's going yet, again, we don't know. But I think it was definitely meant to perhaps show the relationship in a different aspect than what we're seeing with the two main characters.
Yeah, in a similar way that, she has a record shop, which, sure, some people will go to a record shop. Aziraphale goes to a record shop, but it's not going to attract a lot of people in the same way that Aziraphale has a bookstore that, sure, some people will go to a bookstore, but a lot of people will also just buy a book online. So, and then, so you do sort of have that parallel between them. But yeah. And then I did just like how I did just like the joke of, oh, that guy out there, he's smoking. It's like, well, there's no law against it. No, he's actually like smoking. It's like, that's just how mad he got. So, I also just love that, just how annoyed Crowley was by being taken to hell just for a minute, because that is a terrible way of like moving around or being taken somewhere, is via bugs in your car. So that was interesting.
There was one visual effect that I don't know if they were simply meaning to make it vaguely look like something else, but when he got angry and the lightning shot out of him, if he had one hand out and there was a lightning bolt like up above and one went out of one hand. But if he had had lightning come out of both hands and out of his head, it would have looked like the most recent Doctor Who regenerations where they start glowing. And I don't know if they were meant to do that or not. But as soon as that happened, I thought, oh, that's like he's regenerating.
I could almost see like they do this thing of like, all right, and Crowley, he gets mad and something happens, because you'd honestly expect him to burst into flames for a moment or something, but I would almost wonder if they shot that not fully knowing, or maybe they thought, well, I'll just burst into flames, and then in the editor room or the CGI room, Neil Gaiman was like, wait a minute, I think I can make a little visual reference here, so maybe it wouldn't. If that is the case, this is like the fourth time I've had to watch David Tennant regenerate, and half the time it's into himself anyway. So I don't know, and there will be more to come apparently, but that's a whole other topic. So I don't know. I don't know if I have anything else really. I did find it interesting that it was Crowley who made the universe, because they're like, oh, okay, well, that's an interesting take, because you always think, well, it's God that created the universe, but I like how they sort of get around it, where it's like, well, Crowley did it, but it's the instruction manual that God created. Yeah. So technically, did he? It's like building, a piece of IKEA furniture. It's like, well, did you, like, yes, you put it together, but the pieces came from the factory. You had the instructions. Someone else came up with the design and everything.
To me, that was kind of a callback, though, to the first series, in that the plan is ineffable.
Yeah.
And yet Crowley looks at it and goes, wait a minute. You're going to do all this work and then just only let it run for 6,000 years? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So that's essentially what they were saying in the first one. It's like, wait a minute. Why are we having this apocalypse? We haven't been here long enough.
Yeah. Like, it... Which, I guess when you do kind of think about it, because it just points out, it's like, this is kind of an arbitrary time to do it. Like, what has decided, unless they just says, like, well, 6,000 years is good enough, and it just happened to land, 2019 within the show's canon. Because, yeah, otherwise, it's like, there's not, like, a set of circumstances, I feel like, to make that decision. I don't know, but that's exactly what Crowley was thinking.
Now, if I remember correctly, the original book and movie of The Omen, the child was born in 1966. Because, it was the whole 666 mark of the beast sort of thing.
Yeah, just flip the first one into a 9. Yeah. So, but then that also begs the question, well, why wouldn't you do it in 666? Yeah. Or 666 BC, you could even say, or 1666. Like that's also another one of those. But that's something that someone like Crowley, or just someone who can kind of nitpick, be like, oh, no, wait a minute, why? So, yeah. You got anything else?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, then next week we'll be back for episode 2. I think it's 6 episodes this season again. So we'll be back for episode 2. Let us know what you thought as you rewatch this 100 times to get the view count up. With all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist for all of our Good Omens reactions if you want to go rewatch Season 1. There's also another video on screen if you want to go check that out. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.